What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, good people? Football season is among us. We got the preseason starting with the Jets and the Browns tonight in the Hall of Fame game. Shout out to those teams, but it ain't the Falcons, though. But it's football, though, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we got a special treat for you. But before we bring any of the goods to you, the first thing we're going to ask you to do, if you're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button so we can continue to keep bringing you the fire that we do. Well, I might as well say jalapeno that we bring you, or ghost peppers, whatever you like. But we're definitely getting ready to get to it tonight. Like I said, we got a legend in the building, so you guys get ready, strap in, and hey, we got something for you. Can't wait to pass it on. So let's get to it.
Okay, y'all, this is it.
What's going on? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are in the birdcage. I'm going to go ahead and get this started. Going to bring in my crew. We have Killian, K-Dub Worthy in the building. What's going on, brother?
What's up? What it do? What it is? Birdcage family. Good to be in the building once again. Already on Thursday, 8 p.m. Good to have a great interview in store for you guys tonight. Just glad to be in the building tonight with my followers, listeners, and everybody out there to join us into tonight.
Most definitely, most definitely. We also got to bring the senior citizen of our panel, Mr. Graybeard, into the building. What's going on? What's going on, man?
How you doing, Graybeard?
The hell with that.
Hey, that's what we calling it what it is, man. Your name is Graybeard.
I'm 42 years of age, man.
Look like you about 85.
Okay, well,
I'm just messing with you. Hey, we got football tonight, man. We definitely got football back in the building, and the best part about it is we're bringing a legend into the building with us as well. So this is even more special because the gentleman that we're bringing on, you know, this man has sent over 160 players to the league. He was the first African-American assistant coach, as well as the first African-American coach in the ACC at Wake Forest, and literally took his opportunities elsewhere and became a legendary figure at Winston-Salem State, North Carolina A&T, and then went in the athletic director position and did some historical feats as well. And he's got a lot of proteges, and we had one of his former players on the show. We got the legendary Bill Hayes coming to the stage tonight.
Yeah, baby.
Wait.
Good night. Great interview.
He's been on tons of stages or whatnot, But I think this one right here, we're gonna make him feel a little bit more comfortable at home, man.
Sure.
Yes, sir. So let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna jump into the Falcons real quick because we got some stuff coming out of training camp. Want to get to our birds because mainly, hey, birds are first priority, and then we get everything else into the building. And we have another priority is Coach Hayes. But we're gonna jump on these Falcons first. So, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Yeah, we got Arthur Smith, but I'll be honest, even though Coach Hayes might be retired, I think Coach Hayes might be able to get us to a championship. Old school never fails. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm sure if he wanted to get out there, back out there with these new age guys and get that old school mentality, that Junction, Texas going, hey, look, I would love it. You know what I'm saying?
But he relates.
But with some of these young guys today.
The joy about Coach is he relates with so many different generations. And when you're talking about being able to relate to younger people and just being able just to understand people in general, he was a special man because, me talking to him off the phone, I felt like I played for him, and it was just an amazing honor just to be able to talk to him on the phone. So for me, y'all know how passionate I am about HBCU football. Yeah. So, I'm not trying to get teary-eyed, but this one means a lot to me because, all the legends have either passed on or they're just out there. They don't get enough respect. Eddie Robinson passed before they really started giving him his roses. A.W. Mumford out of Southern University, they're not giving him his roses. The legendary Pete Richardson, who I grew up looking at Southern University, won 5 national championships, protege to Coach Bill Hayes. It's like it's really near and dear that I get to finally meet somebody who mentored a legend that I looked up to. So I'm sorry if I rambled a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. It's a special episode for me. All episodes are special, but it's special for me because it's HBCUs right here is right there in the heart for me. I'm sorry, y'all. I had to get on my little horse right now. You know how it is.
Hey, look, keep it close to the vest. Let's go, baby.
So let's talk about it, man. So we gonna keep it short and sweet before we bring Coach on. We got some folks that are definitely ready to get on. Shout out to Keith Torrance. He was one of Coach Hayes' many players and one of Scoop's coaches. So the first thing we got with training camp coming up, we have Arthur Blank decided to name Desmond Ridder the future franchise quarterback of the Falcons. That's I think that's a little premature. We need to see what he can do first. Even though we are Team Ridder and we've been pulling for him, we got to see what he brings to the table before you start saying this man is going to be long-term.
Hey, man, they see him more than we see him. They see him in the building, outside the building. Hey, I'm going with the owner, man, until proven otherwise.
Yeah, and you see that the owner has messed up a lot of stuff with the Falcons so far. I love him, but it's a lot of stuff that he put his foot in that he shouldn't have. He's getting game plans. Like, what are you gonna do? Call plays from the booth like Jerry Jones?
I just learned from his mistakes. You always learn from your mistakes. He's on the team for quite a while now. I'm praying and hopefully that he's turned the right corner and he sees what he needs to see from this guy. And we don't have to turn the page and go back into the quarterback carousel and try to pick another quarterback.
Very true.
I mean, I do like the confidence that Arthur Smith has in Ridder. I think liked him when we drafted him. He looked at him when he got the Peach Bowl, when he played Georgia. He liked what he was made of. He liked his caliber or whatever. So I do appreciate Arthur Smith having the confidence in him. But at the end of the day, it ain't what you say, it's what you do. So he has to do on the field. I do agree with a historian, man. He got to produce, and we are going to be Team Ridder because we rooted for him. We want him to be successful in on this team and on this offense. Because we do not want to be the Cleveland Browns going through quarterback.
And speaking of players, like Keith Torrance is saying, the Falcons are going to run the ball. And they're going to take the ball out of Ridder. They're going to run the football, and they're going to take it out of Ridder's hands. So they're going to protect him, but at the same time, maybe as I've said before, maybe they're not letting him throw deep passes in training camp. He's getting timing down, but I think he might be working on those deep passes when they're not having public practices. But who knows?
I mean, I think that's why they got Bijan. Bijan Robert was one of the major components to that, to give him more weapons, to take it. He doesn't have to shoulder the burden of the offense. He can spread the ball among the offense.
Well, I feel like we're going to take the approach that the Seattle Seahawks took when they first got Russell Wilson, and kind of lean on, the defense and the other pieces around him until he really gets a grasp of the offense and really get a grasp of the guys that he's playing with and get a grasp of the NFL. So I just the approach that we're taking.
Well, it did help Russell Wilson that he had beast mode in that backfield too. And he had a Percy Harvin and a few other pieces. So, like you said.
So that's why we got, beast mode 2.5 or whatever you want to call Bijan.
Wait a minute. No. I ain't putting him in that category. It's a lot of work, because think about it. Marshawn had already established himself in Buffalo before he came to Seattle. And that was before he had a good offensive line. I can't do that.
This is in theory.
In spirit. Yeah, we need to see that spirit. But speaking of spirit, here's something else. Maybe this might cheer up some Falcon fans. Coach Ryan Nielsen's cranking up the defense, pretty much putting the tempo out there, cranking up the temperature, trying to get guys in a situation where they're going to, how can I put it? They're actually going to compete, and not just compete, they're actually going to play hard. He's actually cranking it up. So, and the way that he likes to use blitzes, we might have Grits Blitz 2.0, maybe. But I know that's a tall order to live up to when they were averaging only 10.3, 10.4 points a game. But I think that the Falcons, in a sense, with this move with Ryan Nielsen, with all these pass rushers, I think he's going to scheme up something for the veterans to school these young guys and really get these guys going in the right direction. What do you think? I'm gonna let Graybeard start this one, and you can jump on it afterwards, Killian.
This is what we wanted, Falcon fan. This is what we wanted. We want an aggressive, attacking defense. And with Nick, I love what he's doing. He adding pressure. Man, that's what we always wanted, man. I mean, with us, man, we want to be attacking that front line, man. We don't want to make average quarterbacks look like Hall of Fame quarterbacks like we have done in the past. So me, quite frankly, I love what he's doing. I like how he's holding them accountable and whatnot. Good ain't good enough. Mediocrity would not be in our building. We want perfection. We want to be the best, and that's the type of mind that they have to have on this team. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Killian.
Well, Ryan Nielsen cranking up that D, that's the kind of D coordinator I like. So what I like what he's doing is very, 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 very much super, super nice. So I need you to keep cranking up what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, and don't stop what you're doing. So those are the three things I need him to keep doing. So, I mean, I just want to see results, especially in the sack department. I want those guys to get home and, like I said, be the strength of our team this year. Let that defense be a strength, because it's not too many years in Falcon history that we had, solid defense. I know we had the Grits Blitz defense, but we need to come up with a new defense. It may not be Grits Blitz, but we got to come up with a new name for this defense. Hey, they got to
earn that. They got to earn that first. But it's not like a Pete Richardson defense back in the day that was running things at Southern University and at Winston-Salem State. Let's get that straight. It ain't like a Pete Richardson defense, baby.
Yeah.
Pete put a lot of guys in the league just like Coach Hayes. So you already know when we talking defense or whatnot, you're talking I mentioned two guys who really specifically were heavy on that, because a lot of folks don't know Pete Richardson played for the Buffalo Bills. He was a cornerback. So, when you talk about a guy that was schooled into that, and all it did was transition when he was with Coach Hayes, maybe Ryan Nielsen might be able to have a track record like a Pete Richardson if he gets everything squared away with these young guys and actually being able to coach. Yeah, I'm getting brownie points. I don't care. Y'all can smile all day.
I
I'm
mean,
I'm excited, baby. I'm
I,
amped today, baby.
oh man,
you're making a lot of sense, but I'm just saying. But we're commenting on what Ryan Neilsen is doing. I just feel like he may have learned from those coaches. You got to learn from your predecessors. So
Agreed.
here he studied the coaching game, the coaching history, and had coaching books to where he knows about the Eddie Robinsons and coach that we have on today. And we know about guys that have done it at the HBCU level and guys that have done it before him. Even if they're black coaches that done it in the D1 ranks, you know.
Yes.
So I mean, you can learn from everyone. You know, black, white, Hispanic, you know, Puerto Rican, and the third. So you know, I mean, I just feel like we got one. You know, we stole him from New Orleans, but that was just Fontenot, you know, keeping his eye out. You know how you always everybody's been at a job and said, if I own my own thing, if I ran it, I would run it like this. So when he got the job, he already had people in mind that he would bring on his staff and snatch away and steal. He had people, I will steal you. And, you know, let me get opportunity, I will come and get you. I'm sure this was an account before he left New Orleans, and it just put into play.
I mean, I agree. And I also think you can tell what Nielsen is bringing about what type of player he brought onto the team. A Calais Campbell. You know what I'm saying? He brought two players from New Orleans. He understands what was needed and what needed to be addressed.
Yeah.
So, and I just love it. I mean, like I said before, action will always be louder than words. So we got to see what it can produce on the field. But yeah, I'm excited, man.
Well, without further ado, you know, we're going to bring on the legend himself, because not only are we going to talk about we're going to talk about just the Falcons. We're getting ready to ask a living legend about how he handled things, not only as a player, but also as a coach, being able to manage many different personalities and doing what he was doing back in the day. Because truthfully, he ran an NFL type style team, because he had a former NFL player running his defense, and he was running and you know what's funny? The offenses they were running, it was different than what we're running now. He was running the wing T, but his philosophy was exactly like Arthur Smith's. Ground and pound that football. We'll hit you when you're least expecting it with the passing game. And then after we hit you with that passing game, we getting ready to send our defensive line after you blitz, and we're gonna let our corners knock you down playing man on man. That's pretty much what they did. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the legendary Hall of Fame coach, one of the greatest of all time to ever do it, Coach Bill Hayes.
Wow.
Great to have you in the building, sir.
Coach Hayes, the honor her.
It's a
Welcome.
pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the BirdCage, Coach Hayes.
Wow, you guys are special. I can tell. You guys got a lot of competition going on, too.
That's the only way to be, Coach. You know,
Yes.
You might not be a Falcon, but you are a bird yourself.
That's right.
You're an eagle.
A North Carolina Central Eagle Falcon. You know, that eagle is no ordinary barnyard fowl.
No.
That eagle is special.
Yes. So, welcome, Coach. We want to go ahead and start off by asking you. Now, we spoke on the monumental accolades that you had, but we want to kind of start off with asking you, growing up in Durham, North Carolina, during, you got to see Jim Crow, close to the end of Jim Crow, and then desegregation come around, and you went to all black high schools, all black colleges, and you had, practically growing up in that type era. What was it like for you to find solace in being a football player and getting your education and getting to that next level of being a coach?
Well, first of all, it was a pleasure to be able to go to school. Let's put football aside for a minute. It was so hard back during that era in the 50s or the early 60s to go to school. there was so much growing up where I grew up, having the opportunity to go to high school and move forward. You know, we lived on the wrong side of the tracks during that time, and I wasn't expected to excel. But me personally, I personally made up my mind that I wanted to go to school. I wanted to be on that football team at Hillside High School. I wanted to excel. During, you know, we were actually so poor. I could tell you if I get into my story about where I really came from and how hard it really was, you don't have enough time, so I better leave it alone. But Hillside High School was a great place. Many great athletes, outstanding coaches. My football coach, Russell Blunt, was a great one. And just next week, we're going to be trying to work basketball coach Carl Easterling into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. And so it was a great time. And then, of course, after high school, I matriculated and got a football scholarship to North Carolina Central, where I was really made freshman of the year on the football team, and almost flunked out. I had to learn how to study, had to learn, actually, in my environment, there was no real room in the house to study, with 5 kids and 5 children in 3-room house. And it was rough, buddy. So I had to learn how to study and learn how to excel. So it was no easy street for me. It was a struggle all the way.
Okay. And got one more question for you, and I'm gonna let my guy Killian jump on the next one. Now, you talk about your time at North Carolina Central when you played center, and you also played linebacker, and then you're one of the best to play at that time. And what really got you into coaching, and how did you get into being in the AC, getting that opportunity to go to the ACC?
Well, you got to remember now, in the 60s at North Carolina Central, we had the best football players in North Carolina. All of the black kids in North Carolina, the best ones went to North Carolina Central. And then we had the best kids in the eastern part of Virginia, in the Tidewater area. So we had great football players on our college football. It was unbelievable, our college football team. And a lot of those guys got drafted, and one of them had great careers in the NFL. After college, I was an undersized linebacker, weighing 210, 215, 6'2". That wasn't very big to be a middle linebacker like I was in the NFL. So I went on into coaching and high school coaching. And I got to tell you about this pioneer lady. Her name was Mary Garber. She was a little pioneer white lady that did what you're doing in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She saw me doing what I do, my work, coaching. And she recommended me to Wake Forest University. And of course, I was hired at Wake Forest, being the first black coach in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And she was largely responsible for me getting that opportunity. So we got to give her credit. She's in the Hall of Fame herself. So that's kind of the way it all got started.
Gillian?
Well, Coach, our listeners and viewers would like to know, man, just, how was it just kind of just growing up? Just give us a glimpse of how it was growing up back then in North Carolina, just your struggles and just being, just how is it being like still, getting your roses right now and, being one of the pillars of HBCU, man. I mean, it has to be an extraordinary thing to be a coach, so many, great young men and fathers and things like that of that nature now.
Well, I had a philosophy about coaching, and that was to coach the whole kid, whole boy.
Okay.
I think you got to do more than just coach the football in him or the basketball in him. I think you got to coach the whole person. You got to get him ready for the world. You got to get him ready for life. And so, believe it or not, so many young Afro-American athletes in college football were fatherless. Yeah, when you look around the room and you got 100 guys in the room and you start counting, you realize that about half of them, father wasn't in the home. So then you had to do the whole thing. I mean, you had to teach him how to be a man, and we spent a lot of time teaching our student athletes what to do in a restaurant, or how to wear their hair, or we would go down to the clothing store and get the guy, the men's store to come and bring a line of suits so our guys would know what kind of suit to wear on what occasion and how to dress and how to present himself. Yeah. So it was, it's about coaching the whole kid, and that's what we tried to do. You know, football was a big part of it, and we got their attention because all of them wanted to play. And so in order to play, you know, they had to follow the rules. They had to listen and pay attention to what we were saying and be coachable. But the big thing was to coach the whole guy, to get him ready for life, to win championships, always to win championships. That was paramount. You know, we're going to win championships. But then the game of life is when you win the game of life, you've just won a huge championship. So not only did we want to win the championship on the football field, we wanted to win a championship with life. And that's what we tried to train and teach our young men how to do. I hope that makes sense to you all.
Oh,
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're used to addressing young men of our age. So, I mean, you know how to eloquently put it and articulate it. So it's a great job.
You know, we even, believe it or not, we even had a dance when I was at A&T. The football team sponsored a dance. And the reason we sponsored a dance, part of the deal with sponsoring the dance was you had to go by the dorm and pick up the young lady, you know, have some flowers to put in her hand, bring her to the dance, you know, get her. We did the whole thing. It was really a life's rehearsal. That's what the dance was all about. It was rehearsing what you needed to do to get ready for life. And so we did a lot of things like that to coach the whole kid, you know, and in doing that, we produced a whole lot of champions, because we got them ready not only for the game, but we got them ready for the game of life.
Well, shivering is not dead. You were teaching shivering. One of your former players, he said, ask coach about one of his favorite sayings. My job is to do my job.
Yeah, my job is to do my job. And I know who that was. That was Keith Torrance. You know, Keith, Speedy, man, you talking about somebody special? Keith Speedy Torrance was a great athlete. You know, he wide receiver, could beat you over the top, run back punch, and you know, one of your guys, Ryan, is Anthony Blaylock, one of the guys that I coach. A tremendous cornerback. I'm probably the most competitive defensive back I ever coached. And here's a guy that if somebody caught a pass on him, he's crying coming out of the huddle because he's so pissed off that they caught a pass that he's crying in the huddle. He didn't want to give up anything. So, I mean, you're talking about a special guy and a talented athlete from Raleigh, North Carolina. Tony Blaylock was a great one, played about 9 years in the NFL. And, I mean, he just did. I had a lot of champions through my years in coaching football. I mean, on and off the field. Those guys did some model outstanding things in the NFL and business, doctors. And, you know, one of my guys been coaching me on how to live, Reggie Sherrod down in Goldsboro. He's a medical doctor. So I got guys doing a lot in the NFL, guys coaching pro football. They're all over the place doing some great things.
It's great. Because I'm sure those guys like a father figure to them. So
most definitely. Glenn, what you got for him?
And you know what? You talked about Pete Richardson. I remember when we hired Pete, he was a high school coach up in Dayton, Ohio. And we brought Pete down, interviewed him, and put him in charge of our defensive backs. And you talking about a great football coach? Pete Richardson is one of the best I've ever seen. I remember, I really did a lot of offensive work, but Pete was a defensive back guy, linebackers. And I used to come in we were getting ready for a game. I watched the tapes, and then I get these thoughts about defense in my mind. And sometimes I wanted to make adjustments in our defense. And I would come into our defensive staff, and I put my adjustments on the board, and everybody agreed with my adjustments. Pete would never agree with my adjustments. I said, well, he called me Wild Bill. Wild Bill, we can't do that. I don't want. I said, well, why? I said, I tell you what, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to prove to me why what you're thinking is better than what I'm thinking for our team. And guess what? Pete Richardson won those arguments every time. You know, you
Well,
got to
you
have
know,
some. You got to have when you're coaching, man. You got to have some. No matter whether you're coaching or in business, you got to have some smart people around you, and you got to be
mm,
able. You got to have some folk around you who will tell you what they think and be honest with you and be willing to make those hard decisions. And Pete Richardson was one of those guys that was willing to make those tough decisions and had enough character and had enough personal experience to where he would make that hard decision and step up when other guys would kind of go along. Pete wasn't going to go along. He was going to do
mm.
what he thought was right regardless. Great football coach, Pete Richardson.
And you know the best part about it, Coach, this school right here, them Southern Jaguars got 5 national championships out of him because of that attitude and that mindset. That
I,
man there learned from one of the greatest coaches, which is you, Coach. So
and
I
it,
thank
and,
you for blessing the school that I love with 5
and I got
championships.
and I got to throw this out there at you. He never beat me.
I,
1-on-1. We took care of Southern.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
it
we
hurt.
took
You
care
know
of
what?
Southern.
I'm not even mad because I can
No.
take that. I can take that. They got 5 natties, so I'm okay with
Yeah.
that, Coach.
Yeah.
See,
He,
Coach.
he's a
Coach Williams told on you last time he was on here. He said you were gonna be. He said you were gonna be a bit braggadocious about that.
no. I'm just proud of what we were able to do at Winston-Salem State and at North Carolina A&T. You know, I think
Yes.
we lost to a SWAC school one time, and of all the SWAC teams we played when I was head coach at A&T, we lost to one SWAC team one time. The rest of them, when you go back and look at the record books, we took care of the SWAC. You know, because we were physical. I think we were a lot more physical than them. We ran the football. We had that attack mentality going into the games, and we just we just showed them how the game's supposed to be played. And I'm real proud of our record and achievements at both schools, at Winston-Salem State and at A&T. And then I went on to become an athletics director at North Carolina Central and Florida A&M and at Winston-Salem State. And we did some good things there. I remember one streak, we won 14 championships in 4 years when I was at Winston-Salem State. So we did a lot of good things, and we trained a lot of good people along the way.
Great.
Oh man, just cooking. Hey, I'm just cooking it all in. I am just cooking it all. Coach Hay, got a question for you, sir. You started coaching as a running back position coach at Wake Forest back in 1973. Can you give us a brief assumption? I mean, on year one, how was it transitioning from that type of environment?
Man, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, first of all, there was nobody that looked like me in the ACC, in east of the Mississippi, in any of the predominantly white schools. And so, but the thing that I learned how to do, I act like I was supposed to be there. You know, the thing you gotta act like you belong. You can't walk around looking around like you're afraid. I acted like I belong there, so there ain't nobody do me no favors. I felt like I was better than all those guys coaching me anyway. So in coaches meetings, I asserted myself. In recruiting, I had to out recruit everybody on the staff. You know, coach tell us to each guy bring in 3 recruits, and we had 11 coaches. That's 33 kids. I'm gonna bring in 10. You know, I'm gonna beat everybody to work in the morning. I'm gonna get there early. I'm gonna do more work before they get there than they do all day. And that was my mentality. And when we went out on the road recruiting, I'm gonna out recruit everybody. When we went scouting, I'm gonna get there first and do the best job. Can you believe I'm probably the first guy to go into Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma? I mean, go in the box and recruit. I mean, they hadn't seen anybody like me. And the beauty of it is this. The staff that you know what the cooking staff, you know, they bring when in the press box, they bring the food out. I mean, they took care of me, man. I got the best of the food that they had because those brothers who worked in those kitchens and in those stadiums all down through the deep South at Mississippi State and LSU and Oklahoma and Clemson. And when I came in, they were always going to take care of me. it was they were really proud that somebody that looked like them was around and doing what I was doing, and so I had to carry myself in a way that to make sure that they were proud and to keep them proud and to do the right thing and to kind of be a pioneer and lead the way for people like me to come along. I really wanted to stay in that area, in that Division I ball, but I was afraid that I didn't know when they were going to change. We're talking now 1972, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm saying, when am I going to be a head coach? I can't stay here if I'm not going to be the head coach. I wanted to be the head coach, so I either had to stay there on that track, or I had to make a move to a historically black college to be a head coach. And I chose to go to Winston-Salem State to be a head coach. Had to take a pay cut, had to suffer some things that I wasn't used to in the Division I, but I made that move, and I'm proud of it. I mean, we did a lot of good things. I remember one year when I was at Winston-Salem, we had 7 kids get drafted off our football team. I mean, we had talent. And look, we built some strong football players and some strong teams over the years.
And
so you know what, I remember when Clemson hired their first guy. His name was Bill Swinger. I remember when Duke hired their first guy. His name was Bishop Harris.
I remember
their first black guy. I remember when I used to go to the coaching convention, and I would walk down the hall at the coaching convention. All the guys would say, "Hey, man, that guy right there is at Wake Forest University, and he coaches a position," because most of the black coaches during the early part of the change, where black guys start coaching at predominantly white schools, they didn't coach. All they did was recruit. They didn't coach a position. They were hired just to recruit black athletes. But I recruited everybody, black, white. I mean, and I coached a position, which made me very unique, and made a lot of guys really proud and admired what I was doing, because I coached the O-line, and anybody that knows the game knows that that's one of the toughest positions you can coach, O-line. Actually, I didn't have very many black O-linemen, but my best one was a guy named Larry Terry that I recruited from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I coached him to be an All-American center and a first-round draft choice with the as center in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So it was different. We came a long way since I started out going to convention. I remember we went to the convention one year, and I remember Eddie Robinson and Jake Gaither and all those guys were at the convention, and we started. Man, we started the United Coaches Association. We were tired of not being involved in the AFC. The AFC is the American Football Coaches Association. Mm-hmm. Well, blacks did not have any leadership roles in the American Football Coaches Association. So we started the United Coaches Association. The United Coaches Association, which I was chair of the United Coaches. That was all the black coaches in America. We lasted about 10 years, and guess what it became? The Black Coaches Association. Mm-hmm. And I was the first chair of the Black Coaches Association. So, but then when you look at it now and you go to convention and the AFC and you see all the faces and you see all the change that has occurred over the last 40 years since we've been a part of all this. It's amazing how far we've come in such a short time, and how many black guys now got significant roles and coordinators and head coaches. Not enough now, don't get me wrong. It's still not enough, but we've come a long ways in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. And Coach, and this is the thing, like you just mentioned, I wanted to kind of touch on that. When you speak about that, currently there are only 8 African-American head coaches right now coaching Division I football. And you have over 120 schools that are D1 Division I schools. And the sad part about it is all the black coaches, and it's been like this since Coach Willie Jeffries, who coached at South Carolina State, when he ended up going to Wichita State when they had a program before it became defunct. He was the first to move up. So let me make sure I put this out here, ladies and gentlemen. If you think Deion Sanders was the first, he was not. Coach Prime was not the first. And he was not the best to do it. I'm sorry to say it. I know I'm gonna get some backlash from some Falcon fans, but I don't care. Willie Jeffries was that dude, and he Eddie Robinson, Coach Hayes, so many before him, Coach Archie Cooley,
No,
so many before them.
listen, Archie Cooley. Archie
Archie
Cooley
Cooley,
was the real deal,
gunslinger.
man. Archie Cooley taught folk how to throw a forward pass, man. Archie Cooley was a great one.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a show.
And it's crazy. And here's the crazy part about it, Coach. Now, we were talking about different people getting opportunities. Okay, you give Deion Sanders his opportunity. Okay, let him kick down the door. A lot of people aren't talking about it, but he ended up taking 2 head coaches that were in the SWAC over and brought them on his staff because they have more than 15 years experience. So now he's trying to infiltrate getting guys from HBCUs. A lot of people gave him flack, but you're trying to bring these guys in to give them jobs at a Division I level, which they should have already had because of the credentials. But it's slow progress, but it's good that we're seeing that finally a lot of these HBCU coaches are finally starting to get opportunities to move up. Because I'll be honest with you, we're Georgia Bulldog fans, and I'm bold to say this. I think Coach could probably steal some of Kirby Smart's recruits. I really believe he could. And think about this. Coach was recruiting during the time where a lot of these schools were putting money under the table, and he was getting top flight athletes. Because if you look at it, you got your Anthony Blaylocks, you got your Timmy Newsom, who played for the Dallas Cowboys, for those who don't know. And then you have Mr. Yancey Thigpen, who was a monster at that wide receiver spot back in the day. So I'm just giving you just a few. So I believe that coaches of your caliber should have gotten a chance, opposed to us seeing a lot of the, no disrespect to counterparts, because I had some great white coaches too. I don't see color, but let's just be real. Some of these guys that are coaching right now are retreads, and none of them, and they're not good. They're not good.
Well, since you mentioned your Georgia Bulldogs, there was a guy that you need to know. His name was Hornsby Howell. Hornsby Howell was a head football coach. Hornsby's daddy was a trainer at the University of Georgia in the 40s and the 50s. Hornsby, so Georgia had black folk around in the athletic department in the 40s and the 50s. Hornsby Howell's dad was a trainer at Georgia. Hornsby came to North Carolina and was the head football coach at North Carolina A&T. We can't talk about Georgia football without talking about Hornsby Howell. He passed a few years ago, but he was truly a great one. So, but when you think about it, just imagine being thinking that you're a talented coach back in the 70s and wanting to be in Division I, and just think about what a challenge it must have been for us guys who came through during that time, and just gambling that one day you're going to be a head coach at a Division I institution. I'm talking about in the 70s. So taking that gamble and staying in Division I and staying in predominantly white schools during that time, some guys did it and never became head coaches. Spent their whole life as top flight assistant coaches on that level. But I chose to make that move and to leave Division I and go to Division II, because I had no idea how long it would be. Fortunately for me, in my era, a guy named Jim Caldwell came behind me. Of course, Jim was from Pittsburgh. Jim came down and was the head football coach at Wake Forest University about 10, 12 years after I left, and to become the first black coach in the ACC, head coach. And we're proud of him. He and I are real good friends. And Jim Caldwell did an excellent job, and then went on to the NFL and did a great job coaching pro football. So let's don't forget about the great Jim Caldwell.
Definitely won't, Coach. You dropped some gems, and when you were talking about the Black Coaches Association, something that a lot of people, that the casual fans really don't know. If you're a student of the game, you also understand this. The Woody Hayeses, the Bear Bryants, the John, excuse me, and you have so many of these coaches, Dan Devines and all these guys. They would come down to the HBCUs during these clinics with the legendary Jake Gaither, with Eddie Robinson, with Archie Cooley. And a lot of folks really don't realize that these coaches were trying to learn how to recruit black players, and they were trying to learn how to coach them because they weren't used to having them at that level.
Well, I tell you what, you just should have been a
should
fly
have
on
been
the
a fly
wall
on the
back
wall
then,
back then.
and been at the American Football Coaches Association and saw the interaction between Division I white coaches and Division II black coaches. It was unbelievable. They knew what kind of talent we had, and they knew what kind of talented coaches we had and players. So there's always been a good bond and a good relationship between us.
The other question I got, my guy Sinquay, I'm not gonna cheat him out of that one. I was gonna read that question. He had something for you. I'm gonna let Killian get this. He asked, was there a negotiable or guiding principle to establish your winning culture in your career?
Repeat that question, please.
Was there a non-negotiable or a guiding principle to establish your winning culture in your career?
Well, I would say that the things that we tried to teach was, first of all, you got to have strong character, and you got to lose yourself inside the team first. You got what I'm saying? You got to lose yourself inside. It ain't about you. It's about, you got to put the team first. And once you get that established and get all that selfishness out of the organization, and each and every person involved with the team puts the team first, then you can get started trying to figure out how you're gonna win the championship. Winning every season with one goal, that's to win the championship. Now, it takes a lot of preparation to get the team ready to win the championship. Actually, it starts with recruiting back in December, January, February, and it starts with all those meetings and preparation during the off season, all the little things that we worked on to get a student athlete ready, from all the quick foot drills and all the quick hand drills and all the sprint and turns and turn and flip and then all the character building things that we did. You know, bringing in people from the clothing store to teach you how to dress, to bringing in somebody who will teach you how to sit down when you went to apply for a job, which knife and remember now, we're talking about some guys sometimes from the wrong side of the tracks. Sometimes we're talking about a guy who didn't have a father. So now somebody got to teach him which knife and fork to eat with when he goes out with a CEO from a major company. So we got to coach the whole kid. That's what we really emphasized. And so winning championships and doing a big number with the team and going down that road. You know, when you start going down that road to victory and you got 11, 12 game season, you know, when you get to game 8 and 9 and you're undefeated, the hardest thing to do is to keep that focus going. You know, to keep that eye comes into it. You know what I mean? People start talking about I this and no, it ain't about I. We got to learn how to say we in everything we do. When we're tackling a guy, we got to learn how to snap our hips, and we got to learn how to move our feet, and we got to learn how to reach out and palm that ball when we go up for an interception. So it has to start being about we and not I. If you can get that I out of it, and you start getting everybody thinking about we and putting the team first, you got a chance. But it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of hard work and a lot of care. It takes putting everybody on a bus and going to church on Sunday during the season. Yeah, we take the guys that you got to come on. You got to get up and go to church. You know, we got to have that spiritual component. And we got to bring the preacher in on Friday night to talk to our team before Saturday's game. We got to do it's unbelievable, all the things we got to do to keep this team on the right track. And we got to keep those outsiders and all. We got to keep that outside thing away from the team. Yeah. So we got to have 5 or 6 guys who many times, and we got to have these meetings at breakfast, and I got to listen. I got to throw something out there and then shut up and let them tell me what we need to be doing to win the championship. So, and then these are guys who can go back and if there's a problem, if there's something creeping inside the team, somebody got to tell me. And the best way to do that is to sit down at breakfast at 7:30 in the morning with guys on the team and say, look, what are the issues? Can we do this? I mean, what's wrong? I mean, you got to tell me so we can fit. And they're going to tell me. Somebody going to drop a bomb on me and say, hey, coach, such and such are doing, such and such are doing. We need to get on top of that. So it takes a lot of time, and it's not just about what you do on the field. It takes about as much time, a third of the time off the field as it does on the field to manage a football team. So curfew, somebody got to manage that. I mean, you ain't enough hours in the day to take care of all the things that you need to take care of. So you got to we got to have a football council. We got to have a football council. We got to have a team inside the team that manages teams, decorum, and discipline. So it's a long road, man. It's a long road to victory, a long road. And you got to be on top of it from going to church on Sunday, to curfew, to conversations with players. We got to have faculty members come in and talk to the team. I mean, it's never ending, the things that you got to do to keep it all together and to keep it all on track. And if you just slip for 1 minute, it can get away from you. It can get away. Sometimes females can come in and take over the team. You wonder what in the hell is going on? Why these two guys fighting? Why they mad with each other? They dating the same girl. Oh, Lord. Now how we going to fix this? So it's just so many. It ain't all about talent. It ain't all about the best play. So many. It's about the whole package. And so you got to be on top of all of that. That's why it's important to have that council. Because when you sit down on Thursday morning at breakfast and start saying, well, why is this happening? Why is Joe moving so slow? Why isn't he breaking on the ball, coach? Him and Freddie Lee over there, they got a problem against each other. So you got to have your tentacles up. You got to have all these barometers working so that you know what's going on. So you got to manage that team. It's hard to manage 100 guys. And don't let those pro scouts come around. And when those pro scouts start coming around, now the guys start thinking, wow, why are they looking at him and not me? I'm really the guy. Why isn't he looking at me? So all that dissension comes in, and you got to manage that. So it's just so many components to it. It's just, look, X and O's are just a small part of winning a championship. Calling the right play is just a small part of winning a championship. It takes the whole team. You got to coach the whole guy. The coaches got to be on the same page about offense, defense, and special teams. And decorum, team decorum. So it takes 16 hours a day to get close to managing it. Because most coaches during the season don't have any life other than that team. If you think you're going to have some life, you're in the wrong business because your life is that team. So I hope that helps.
You covered like, hey, you know what? He just covered literally pretty much majority of the questions we had. But one of our guys, shout out to Miss Gaylor. Our guy, Coach Brand, is not in the building right now. He normally would be doing the interview, but he's celebrating his wife's birthday. His wife let him out to ask a question on YouTube. He wanted to make sure he rubbed elbows with a legend. He wanted to know how much his practicing changed throughout his career, throughout your career. When you talk about how practice went from the time you were a player to when you first started coaching to transition.
Well, see, we used to practice, first of all, it was taboo to drink water in practice back in the old days. The coach didn't give you water. Something was wrong with you. You were a sissy if you drank water during practice. So it changed from that to water all the time. You know, it went from water to ice. You know, then there was a period where you didn't drink water; you used those little ice cubes. But now water is everywhere. Water is all around. So practice changed. We used to practice for 3 hours. I mean, that was standard back in the old days. Now most practices don't last but an hour and a half. They are so organized, and there's so many coaches. I mean, they're now in D1. The coaches got the O-line got 2 guys that help him, and the D-line coach got 2 guys that help him, and the defensive back got a couple of guys. So it might be 25 guys out there coaching the team. But back in the old days, if you had 7 guys, you were lucky. So the number of coaches has changed tremendously. The computer has. I remember we should come in on Sunday at 7 o'clock on Sunday morning, and we didn't have computers, so we had cards. So we had every play drawn up on a card, and we had all the cards numbered. And so we had to put these cards in stacks, and we were really the computers. So it took us all day long to figure out what Joe Nim did on 1st and 10 with the ball on the right hash. We had to know exactly what he was going to do when he had the ball on the 20-yard line on the right hash, or what he was going to do when he had the ball on the 40-yard line on the left hash. We knew what play he was going to run, but it took us like all day Sunday, all day Monday, and half of Tuesday to figure it all out. We stand there from like 7 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, we didn't get home. You know, I mean, going home, I mean, you went home long enough to sleep and get back to work because we were the computer. Now they put all the data in the computer and press a button and they got a scout report that same day. We didn't have that back in the old days. We had to get there early on Sunday morning and get home late on Sunday night. We had one day that we got home at a reasonable hour, and that was on Thursday. We got a chance to go home early on Thursday to take our families out to dinner. And early was at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
So that was early. That was early.
Yep.
I mean, we never got home before midnight other than on Thursday, and we got home at 7 o'clock on Thursday. So because of the computer, we had to have all the data. So you guys remember one thing: when a team does something in the sport of football, we already know what he gonna do. Is his heels better than mine? Now, if it's his, I might know what he gonna do, but he's got better than my guy. I know that he on third and 3 on the minus 30-yard line. I know what he gonna do. Now I got to set my defense to stop him, but his might be better than mine. If he is better than mine, it don't matter. Only thing I can do now is slow him down because I can't stop him. So the computer has really made a big difference in college football. And the number of coaches and the staff sizes nowadays have made a big difference. You know, I remember when I started in Division I, we had 11 guys on the staff. You know, now they got 75 guys in the room when they have a staff meeting. It's amazing now how many guys are involved. You know, instead of having 1 trainer, they got 6 trainers. You know, instead of having 2 people, 1 person to film offense and 1 person to film practice and defense, now they got a whole crew of filmers for offense and defense. So everything has changed, and the recruiting has changed. The recruiting never stops. You know, we had recruiting season back then. After the football season, you jump in the car and you went out recruit. It never stops now. It's all summer. It's 7-on-7 camps where you bring in the high school kids on your campus during the summer, so you get to see the kids early. So everything now has changed. But the big thing, the speed of the game has changed. And I think computers really had you know, we didn't get computers to 2000. That was what, 24 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, the game has completely changed since the advent of computers. Since the coaching staffs now are so large, but the athletes really are about the same. They're just much better prepared now.
Man.
But the difference between the athletes now, and I'm gonna say it, I know I'm gonna step on some toes, and I'm fine with it. The athletes now are nothing like the athletes back then because guys were a lot tougher.
And we could practice longer. See,
Yeah.
we could practice 3 hours, and we could practice 3 times a day. So we go to practice one time at 7 to 10, and we might get in another one, kicking practice an hour and a half. Then we come back with another 3-hour practice in the evening. You can't do that anymore. They won't let you practice, but once you can't practice no more than twice a day, an hour and a half, and then you can't practice with so many hours a week. And so the practice time has been cut in half. So you're right, they ain't near tough as the guys playing back when Blaylock and Speedy and those guys played. Hell, I practice them 3 times a day, and look, and then give them an ice cube and say, let's go again, But now, so they were much, much tougher and much more physical than that student athletes are today.
But a lot of
these guys today couldn't take, they would mutiny on us. Yeah, we'd have a mutiny because we're gonna stay out there till we get it done. We're gonna turn the car lights on in practice. We didn't have no lights, no stadium lights, so we turn everybody get their car and shine the car lights on the field, and we're gonna get at it till we get it right. We're gonna practice till we get this thing right.
Remember the Titan.
Yeah, Coach, I would have, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I was blessed to have. He's passed on, one of my high school coaches. His name was Dennis Barton. Let
me make this comment. He just said, "Remember the Titans." Ike Boone was from North Carolina. Ike Boone was from North Carolina. Ike Boone and I came along about the same time. We went through the same kinds of things in Winston-Salem at integration at North Forsyth High School that Ike Boone went in. It was the exact same story, but in a different place. Ike Boone was a great guy. And Ike Boone was a friend of mine until he passed a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got to remember the Titan story. I'll tell you that on another show one night.
Please.
We already gonna get you back on, Coach, because Coach George Williams and Dr. Pennant, they said they want to get on the show with you, and they want to all sit down and they say, hey, we gonna tell y'all some stories. That's gonna be a special that we have for you guys.
Well, we know Billy Joe and and Willard Bailey and all. I coached with all those guys back in the day. I coached against all those guys. You talking about some guys could really coach some football. Larry Little down at Bethune-Cookman. I mean, we went at it. Eddie Robinson down at Grambling. We went at it a whole bunch of times. In fact, we won all those games too. I tell you, we didn't lose but one strike school, so they ain't never beat us. We were pretty good because we went hard. So
I love that competitive spirit.
The MEAC has changed since you left. And I'm gonna talk a little trash because I can't let him just trash the swag like that. You're one of my idols, but I can't let you do that, Coach.
You ain't
running it.
They just gotta try to win a game. That's all. We ain't mad at it.
But you know what? They have been the thing. And this is the sad thing because I remember as a kid, I remember watching how strong the MEAC was. When my coach, my high school coach, that was my defensive back coach, played for Billy Joe at FAMU and was on that national championship team that had that wide open offense that you're seeing running the NFL. He was doing that with Quinn Gray at FAMU. And you look at it now, I remember how strong Hampton University was back in the day and North Carolina A&T. And then, your protege, he's strong on confidence because we wanted his quarterback in Atlanta. I know I did. Mr. Cornell Maynard. I wanted to kill Glenn to come to Atlanta. I've said that for the longest.
Very special guy. Very special guy. Don't forget about Joe Taylor now. Joe Taylor did a tremendous job coaching. Joe Taylor was one of the best. So, don't forget about Joe Taylor. He's the athletics director up at Virginia Union now, but Joe Taylor did a tremendous job coaching. So, and look, and you talking about Willie Jeffries. Willie Jeffries could coach ball. Me and Jeff we had some real battles together. I remember when we played up at Richmond in the Gold Bowl. It was called the Gold Bowl. And when I was at Winston-Salem, he was at South Carolina State. So me and Jeff had a whole bunch of good battles together down through the years. So he was one of the greatest, no doubt.
And he had a few Hall of Famers too. Willie Jeffries had a few Hall of Famers. One of them was on that New York Giants team with Lawrence Taylor, Mr. Harry Carson. And then you had Mr. Donnie Shell, who played for those Steelers back in the day, who just got in the Hall of Fame actually about a year or two ago, actually.
And Buddy's still winning down at South Carolina State. Buddy took care of your boy over at
Yes.
Jackson State, didn't he?
Yes,
The
he
Swamp
did.
Fox,
Yeah,
Buddy Pugh. Yes,
Buddy
Lord.
took Buddy took real good care of him, didn't he?
Yep.
But you know what? Buddy wasn't the only one. No, your alma mater also took care of Jackson State as well. So
Yeah.
you're right. They've been
Yeah.
winning. Y'all have won the last 2 championships.
Well,
But
Trey Oliver got him hitched up a couple of years ago down in the Celebration Bowl. Trey Central took care of our man. So
yeah.
but he did. I won't take anything away from him. He did a wonderful job at Jackson State. He did a wonderful job uplifting HBCU football, and much success to him out of Colorado. I'm pulling for the guy big time.
Yeah, I'm pulling for him.
Yep. We, even though we're dog fans, we said long as they're not lining up against Georgia, we pulling for them because for us, like I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, this is just what I tell people. I pull for all black coaches that's in that D1 rank because of all of the pressure that they have, and they get put with bad teams. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They get shipped off to bad teams,
Right.
and when you look at it, I look at when you talk about your coaching philosophies that you had. You and I have talked about it off the phone. I wanted to put this out here for the viewers. So, being in that position of leadership, coach, what were your standards that you set for not only your players, but for your coaches? Because you put a lot of guys in position to be successful as coaches and also in life. What were your standards that got them to that level of success?
Wow. Oh, God, it'd take me 3 or 4 shows to go through all those standards.
I'm sorry, I got to get the good stuff from you.
Give us a brief segment about it.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, be first. Let me just put that out there. Be first. Remember that. Be first in everything you try to do. You got to be the first one in class. You got to sit on the front row. Just because you're a football player, you can't go in the classroom, sit in the back of the room. You got to be first. Get in there early, sit on the front row. You got to get to practice early and get in the front of the line. You got to be first. In other words, you got to instill into that team a be first mentality about everything that you do. I remember Gil Brent called me from the Dallas Cowboys. Timmy Newsom was smart. He called me. He said, "Coach, we drafted that Newsom boy." He said, "But he ain't right now. He kind of stands around and he not measuring up." I said, "Well, what is he doing?" He said, "Well, he stands back and watches too much." I said, "You know why?" I said, "He's smart. See, he's gonna let those other guys make those mistakes, but when he gets in there, he's gonna do it right." I said, "You just watch him and you talk to him and encourage him." Mm-hmm. Next week, he called me back and said, "Coach, that boy outstanding. That kid can play." So we try to teach a mentality where there's a lot of caring, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of be first, there's a lot of lose yourself inside the team. But we're going to be physical. We're going to be physical in practice, and we're going to be physical every day. And we're going to hit each other in practice because we're going to hit in the game. So, having a strong, a lot of respect for your elders and adults in class and then around campus. When you're going in the cafeteria with the other students, you don't go in there like you're a big man on campus. You go in there and be real humble. Be real humble in your approach to people all throughout the society, whether it be in the cafeteria on campus or in the classroom or out in the city or whatever. You present yourself as one who's real caring, one who's real humble, and let your play speak for you. You don't have to run your mouth. We didn't like to clap and make a whole lot of noise in pregame. We just quiet. We listen to you make noise. Yeah, we just listen to them over there raising all that hell and making all that noise, and let them see what's gonna happen when we put that thing on them. So we getting ready to put that thing right on them. Let them run their mouth. We're gonna let them see. Yeah, let them keep talking. Let them keep jumping up and down and yelling and all that noise. Let's see listen real carefully at them. Because we're going to change all this. And as soon as they blow that whistle, then we're going to let that thing out on them. So I think it's a whole, you got to coach the whole guy. And it's hard.
Not to
It's
have
hard. You got to be mother. You got to be a father. You got to be his big brother. You know, you got to keep you got to put in the time. This stuff takes time. You know, you can't be in and out. You got to be all in if you're going to win and coach guys in college football and high school football also.
Yep. Coach, you just like I had it back, man. You mean like a life coach more than a football coach. I mean,
He said he both up.
A life coach. That's what football coaches are. They're life coaches. You
That's why I
understand?
said you were my
It's all about life. I mean, come on, man. You know, we're gonna go. Is somebody mama there? Is somebody die on the kid's family? We're gonna jump on the bus as a team. We're going to the funeral. You know, we're gonna do the whole thing. I'm telling you, it ain't about one thing. It's about the whole thing. It's about a whole experience it takes to build a team. That word team is an awesome word, man. It ain't no I in it.
Yeah.
Ain't no I in team. So and you gotta through your actions and through the time spent, you're gonna build a bond with these guys who from all different kinds of family backgrounds. You gotta create an environment where all of them trust you. Now remember, I wonder why back in 1980 I had a team, and I wonder why some of them are looking at me funny. I realized that none of the guys that I brought in had ever had a positive experience with a black man. They didn't have any black teachers in the elementary school. They didn't have no black teachers and coaches in junior high. I'm the first black man they ever dealt with. So they were suspicious of me. And I got to prove to them that I'm everything to them. That I'm coach, I'm mama, I'm daddy. I'm their complete experience. I want to be a part of. That takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of hours, and you gotta always be. I remember a kid named Bob Weeks asked me one day. He said, "Do you live over here on campus, coach?" Because every time I turn around, you here. When I wake up in the morning, you here. When I go to bed at night, you here. You know, do you? I mean, you live on campus, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he thought because I was always there. You got to put in the time. We ain't talking about nothing easy here now. When you start talking about coaching college football, it's a real job, and it's from you're going to start it up in mid to late July, and you're not going to come up for air until after spring football. Now, just think about that. You're going to go about 10 and a half months straight through 7 days a week, period. 10 and a half, 11 months, 7 days a week of touching those guys every day. That's what you got to do to be successful, to win championships. So ain't nothing easy about it. And so that's why when you see one of you when somebody gets fired after you don't work harder than anybody on campus. They come, you see them come to work at 8, 9 o'clock and they go home at 4 or 5. You just getting warmed up. You know what I mean? You just getting warmed up because you ain't thinking about going home at 11 or 12 at night till you get all those film broke down and get all those practice plans made, especially before we had computers. The computer made it a little bit easier because you can put the data in and you might get home a couple of hours earlier, but you're still going to work harder than most people. You're going to put more time in the first part of the week than most people put in all month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said
that
something
makes sense?
prolific. No, it makes tons of sense, Coach. You said something prolific, and I had to catch myself. I'm not one of the emotional cats on the screen. You almost made me cry, and the reason why I say that, when you talked about team and how you got that family, I lost my father and I lost my grandmother a couple of months ago. And it's still a lot taking on me, but I know my family. I call these my crew. This is my family that helped me, do this because I understand what it's like being a part of a team, being a former athlete, and being in the military at one point in life. And these two dudes are veterans, and we got folks behind the screen, and they've got me through a lot of days that I don't show it much. And I try to, I keep the personal stuff away, but when you came on here and you mentioned that was something I felt like I needed to get out. And I'm just thankful for everybody that's in this group and that's really supported me through this time and helped me get to this point, because you're only as good as the team that you have around you. And these folks here, they push me to get better. I'm already internally to the point where I want to be the best. But like you said, Coach Keith Torrance said you called a lot of people that make noise. That's false enthusiasm before you gonna put that thing on. And quietly, we had to make some changes with some things. And we're at that point where we're not gonna say nothing. It's just we just want to keep our nose to the grindstone and we want to keep working. And with the folks that are around us, we try to be here for each other because we're doing this for because we love what we do, but at the same time it's really another job if you really want to be honest doing it. And like you said, the way that you got to look out for people is holding people accountable, be first, and just treat everybody with respect, the same way that you treat the waiter or the busboy or the janitor is the same way that you need to treat the president of the United States. Everybody got to be the same. Treat them with
That's
respect.
exactly right. And if you got to make an example out of somebody, it's got to be the big guy. You can't take the scrubs and yell and curse at the guy that can't play or the guy that's struggling to make the team. You got to get the top guy. See, you got to get the top. If you're gonna break somebody down, you got to break down the top guy. Because when you break down the top guy, everybody else said, "Wow, you mean to tell me he got him? He yelled at Timmy Newsom. He put Timmy Newsom on the hill. He made him belly roll across the field." And so you know what? I know I'm gonna keep myself straight. If he get him, God knows what he get ready to do to me. So you can't make an example out of the guy that's struggling to make the team. You got to get the so-called star. You got to get the one that think he had John the Conqueror or some damn body. You know what I mean? That's the one that you got to put that thing on. You know that, yeah. And so then you don't have any problems now, because now you showed them that that you even-handed, that you're going to treat everybody the same. Guys used to say, they used to say back in the old days, we're going to treat everybody the same like dogs. You know what I mean? It's magic, though. It's magic when you get into it. It's magic when you start teaching that love and that respect and that hard work and that discipline. It becomes magic because it's something that lasts for a lifetime. It's something that 40 years later, when somebody dies, like you say, you had a death in your family, you look around and the whole team is there. The team, when you build a team right, it's always there. It's not a 4 or 5 year thing. They're always together. On homecoming, you look around and all of them sitting together in the stands. All of them got hotel rooms in the hotel together. So when you build it right, and thank God, I think we built a lot of them right, because whatever we do now, even now, whatever you look around and we still all together. And if something happens in somebody's family, we all there to support them. Or when something happens in my family, they all there to support me. I don't have to get on the phone and call nobody. Somehow they got Morse code. They know that, wait a minute, Dad needs us. I mean, he he in the hospital. Look around and all of them somewhere around. That's when you know you built it right. Now, you might not have won the championship with that, but you did win the championship. You won the championship of life. You won the championship about life. That's what it's all about. And you just taught this guy who didn't have a father. I'm the father. you know, you ain't gonna make no excuses about that. I remember we were getting ready to go down to Bethune to play Larry Little down one year, and this kid comes up to me. I was at A&T, and he said, Coach, I'm gonna need some extra tickets. He said, I don't ever ask you for nothing, but I'm gonna need 4 tickets for the Bethune game. So he practiced. This is on Monday, so he practicing hard. I said, why you gonna need extra tickets? He said, cause my dad coming, and my dad lives in Daytona Beach, and he's coming to see me play for the first time. So he go real hard that week, practice. Right before we get ready to get on the bus down to Bethune-Cookman. He said, Coach, I'm not going to need those tickets. And you could just see it in his eyes. I said, why are you not going to need those tickets? He said, because he ain't coming. You know what I mean? He ain't coming. So I'm saying, I'm looking at his eyes. I said, hey, you know what? I guess it's like it's always been. It's just me and you. Because I ain't going nowhere. I'm here for you. And I think, and see, that's what you got to build. Where you it, you mama, you daddy, you big brother, you the teacher, you the disciplinarian, you everything. When you get that going, you got it going, and that's when you win championships.
Yeah, Coach. Throw this out there to you. You got the same birthday as my grandfather. It's Gemini power always. I'm a Gemini. Let's go. I just want to throw that out there.
We got one more. I got another question for you because, like I said, we're not gonna keep you too long. But because we know we can go, but we definitely gonna have you coming back for another session, Coach, because we really, you have the sound of a great storyteller like yourself, Coach Williams, Dr. Pender, Coach Blaylock. Everybody that's been on here has been great, but it's just certain individuals that could just tell a story and just it's just amazing. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Gemini power.
If you would have recruited me out of high school and I had, even though I love my dogs, I'd told Kirby Smart, hey man, you might as well go ahead and find somebody else. I'm going with him. Hey, I know it's disappointing, but hey, I gotta have somebody that cares about me in life more so than being on this field. Being on the field is a part of it. Like Coach said, that's the easy part. The talent is what got you to come to me. The thing is, can you help mold me into being the man that I'm supposed to be?
Well, when I go in that boy's house and sit down with his family on a recruitment visit, I'm gonna let him know right there, you getting recruited for life. This ain't about no 4 years. This is about life. When you and I make this bond together, when you sign this letter of intent or whatever, you just sign a relationship with me for life. Because it sure ain't about no 4 years. We just getting warmed up in 4 years. So, and that's the way it's been. And that's why we've got these relationships with guys like Speedy and Blaylock and Catman down in Atlanta. He didn't play football, but he was one of mine at Winston-Salem State. So it's just so many of them out there that we've been able to touch down through the years and make champions out of.
And speaking of champions, Coach, I got one last question for you, and then we're going to let you go. When you won those national championships, the 2 national championships you won in North Carolina A&T, what was the feeling like, and were there any past players that you wish they could have experienced that with you?
When you win a national championship or any championship, the first thing you're thinking about is, God, these 3 or 4 guys, they're not going to be with me next year. So I got to get in my car and go out there. You can't celebrate. See, you think there's going to be a celebration. Ain't going to be no celebration. It's too early. It's too much work to do. So I got to figure out who house I'm going to be in Monday or Sunday evening. That game was Saturday, right? We won that championship Saturday. Soon as we get back home, I got to try to replenish what I just lost. So you think what you thinking in your mind that they're going to be this great big old celebration, and no, man, come on. We got to get ready for next year. We got to get in them kids' houses and get them recruits lined up and get this recruitment weekends lined up and replenish this thing as fast as we can. We ain't got time to celebrate. You celebrate when you get my age.
And you know, and we was all talking about it, and like you said, one of the coaches right now, and a lot of people gonna be mad at the Dogs for a while because you know Kirby Smart got to give it to him. He's got that mindset that you have. He's got that mindset, and a lot of folks are like, we can't. It's like, okay, why do you think he's winning the recruiting battles? Why do you think he's able to consistently win year in and year out? Why do you think Nick Saban did it? Why do you think Eddie Robinson did it? Why do you think you did it? Coach Pete Richardson. You guys did not celebrate that moment. Like you said, when you're retired, you can celebrate it then when you get 20-year anniversaries and stuff. But you know, you guys, it's like if anybody understands it, you know, you understand that grind. If you're a former athlete, or you know, we tell people in the military, yeah, you can't celebrate a victory from a war because you got to worry about something else that's coming.
Celebration is a setup. That's a setup.
Exactly.
Celebration is a setup. You just got set up, so they're gonna break your plate the very next year. So you start celebrating, and you see what happens.
Well, we definitely appreciate you for coming on, Coach. We thank you for just giving us the time. It means a lot. Like I said, you're like I said, I know everybody in the cage. We're all appreciative of what you've done in your career and what you brought to the table. But for me, it's really special because, as I said before, you know, I grew up watching Pete Richardson and, you know, wanting to play at Southern, even though I got recruited by somebody else and I got hurt in school and things changed. But I would have wanted to play for one of your proteges, and I would have had an extension of you because everything we poured into him, he was pouring down there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana before he left, and it would have been awesome just to even speak with him. And you know, you're an amazing individual, Coach, and you know, I'm just grateful that you know God allowed the opportunity for all of us to be able just to learn from you because you gave us some motivation tonight to take this BirdCage show to another level. You did. It's a few ideas I was writing down while you were saying that, some of your words, but it's just ready to go.
Well, just don't sit down and rest. Because if
Can't
you sit
do
down and rest, you die. You sit down and rest, you start celebrating, sitting down and resting, then you're gonna wake up dead.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to go nowhere just yet, and I want you to still be around to see what we're gonna do because we definitely gonna bring you back. Definitely gonna be bringing you back, Coach, because we gonna have you to break down some stuff for us this season when it comes to football. So we definitely are gonna need your expertise, Coach.
Well, I'd love to continue to communicate with you guys, and don't forget, I got a guy up in Virginia named Willard Bailey. You got to get on here because he know how to win football games. So don't forget about Willard Bailey. And, you know, he can coach. I
contacted Dr. Bailey. I didn't get a response, but I'm going to continue to be persistent, and I'm going to go ahead and go get him, Coach. I got you.
And you got to get Willie Jeffries on here too. What a beautiful man! You ain't had a show till you get Jeff on here.
Oh yeah,
Willie Jeffries is the real deal, man.
If we get the South Carolina State legend on here, I'm good. I'm good.
He'll call me tomorrow. I'll hook you up with him. Don't worry, I'll hook you up with Jeff. You gotta get those South Carolina gentlemen on there. Willie Jeffries. He's one of the all-time greats. I'm telling you.
We can get Coach
very special.
Well, you know what? We got to get him. We got to get Willie Lanier. We got to get a lot of folks to come through here.
You know, I played against Willie Lanier.
Okay.
You know, I was playing North Carolina. Yeah, I played against Willie Lanier.
Yes.
He played middle linebacker up there at Morgan State. Yeah. We're talking old days now. Yeah. Me and Willie Lanier go all the way back.
Okay. Second African American, the second African American middle linebacker in the NFL, one of the greatest to ever do it.
That's right.
I'm gonna stand on this when I say it. He was better than Dick Butt because I don't care what nobody says. He don't get the credit that he deserves.
No, you're right. You're exactly right.
The numbers were better, and he literally led a defense that was full of mainly HBCU players.
Yeah.
So, We thank
We
you
got
for
to talk
coming
about
on.
okay, then we got to talk about that back in the old days when the scouts used to come by and how the recruitment went back in the 70s and the 80s and so on.
We
Be
gonna have
glad
Well,
to talk
you
to
know,
y'all about
Bill.
that.
too.
Hey, y'all had Bill Nunn, and then y'all also had a gentleman who was a photographer for Mr. Muhammad Ali that used to recruit for the Kansas City Chiefs back in the day too.
What was his name?
His name slipped off the tip of my tongue because
And I
he had
know
a lot of
exactly
connections.
I know who you're talking
Lloyd
about.
Wells. His name was
I
Lloyd
remember
Wells.
Lloyd Wells. I remember him with, but you know, that's a whole nother show. I'm not going to talk
We
again
got
about that. That's a whole nother show.
we gonna say that one for the next one.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for coming on, Coach. We thank Coach Hayes for coming on to the show. We got my man Killian Worthy. Thank you, K Dub, for coming into the show tonight, helping us hold it down. Glenn, Graybeard, you already know how it is. Good soldier on deck, as usual. Good work. And I want to thank my crew from behind the closed doors that we don't really get to see too much of. You have my guy Turbo. You got the first lady, Bree. Shout out to Bree. She just started school. Coach Brant. You have Melton. You have Coach Cam. I mean, it's just so many things that we have going right now. And last but not least, my main man, my other partner in crime, the Black Wall Street Journal himself, Scoop. He gets the scoop before anybody else. So we definitely appreciate you for tuning in with this legend. We're going to be bringing him back, and we're going to be bringing a lot of different folks back. And we have some former Falcons that are going to be coming onto the show pretty soon. Shout out to our guy, excuse me, Mr. Damian Mitchell, son of Mr. Jim Mitchell, Falcons legendary tight end. So we got a few things that's going to be coming. I'm getting ready to try to catch a little bit of this game now and talk a little bit about it. But we can't wait for this season to start. Falcons got a lot of good things that's going to be coming, and so does the BirdCage. Thank you guys again for just spending your night with me just for a portion of that. I greatly appreciate it. I love you guys. And we got some big things coming, man. Merchandise. Got a party coming up. Just check us out. Just stay tuned. We got it coming. So BirdCage is in effect. Kiss everybody. Tell everybody you love them. And hey, we'll see you next Thursday. Peace.